Okay, so this is the Four of Wands, and I'm kicking off my tarot musings with this card because it's a beautiful card. This card is often referred to as marriage card, and it is, as you can see here. There's the two houses, the red and the blue, a man and a woman, and they're in celebration of probably a marriage. Certainly the two houses are coming together, and it's a celebratory card. It is a beautiful card. So I decided to kick off with this card because this card especially really shows the significance of using the tarot as a spiritual tool and guide for spiritual advancement and deepening knowledge, and just as a guide really, and connection to spirit, to the divine, to God, to the universe. Choose your deity of choice. So the significance for me is this card is the first card within the tarot journey, let's say. Well, I guess the Fool technically is the first one, but this is the first card of connection with spirit. And that's why it's called the marriage card. When using tarot as a spiritual guide and tool, this means marriage more in a connection with spirit sense. Unconscious and conscious coming together. The passing of knowledge between the two and the connection. So without that, there's no talking to spirit if you don't have that connection. So this is the first celebration and connection with spirit, and it is a beautiful card, as we can see. I'm using here the Lo Scarabeo deck. Yeah, no doubt I butchered that, the pronunciation, but that's the name of the deck. I think it's Spanish. Anyway, I won't go into that. But I actually thought it was. I thought it was based on 4 different tarot traditions, but it's not. It's 3. I've since actually researched, and it's based on the 3 major tarot traditions, or schools of thought, however you want to, which is the Marseille, the French Marseille system, the Rider-Waite system, and of course the Thoth Crowley system. And it brings these 3 together, showing an amalgamation really. And I really like this deck actually. There's some really interesting takes, and it's really eye-opening because it's very easy to get bogged down in a lot of tradition with tarot. It actually blocks you, I think, to your own interpretation and for spirit to speak to you. And for you to interpret divinely on your own. So it's good, I think, always good to look at other decks and interpretations. Yeah, this one's nice. The Marseille tradition, I'm actually not very closely acquainted with, but I plan to. I like it because I like it how it puts a lot more focus on the numbering system too. It doesn't get the imagery won't get in the way of the interpretation. It's pretty strict that way. And of course the Rider-Waite is it is, I think, probably in the Western world the most traditional deck. And those interpretations are actually very hard to be swayed from. And those, I don't actually agree with a lot of the interpretations in some of those cards, looking purely from a planetary and a numbering interpretation. So yeah, it's very careful. I think you have your own personal, well, I have my own personal relationship with tarot, and you really, I would take into account all other considerations and interpretations, but it's important that you make your own connections with cards and what they mean through experience, when you tarot journal and things like that. What these cards come to mean to you in your journey. It's very intuitive when you're using it for spiritual guidance, for sure. Like, because obviously the divine will show you through signs and through cards whether you're on the right path. So this card, so the Four of Wands is, it's especially beautiful because, as I said, it marks the first connection with spirit. It's actually the first stage card within tarot, and a stage card, well, I'll use the Rider-Waite, traditional Rider-Waite deck as an example because it's the best example, but a lot of the cards within that deck will appear to be on a stage within the images. And the meaning of those cards is, well, actually there's different meanings, but usually stage cards will represent a stage. It's an important level or part of learning, or everyone, it's a rite of passage that everyone has to go through. It is a stage that nobody can avoid, rich, poor, young, old, whatever. It's a stage. We all have to go through it. Or sometimes stage cards can represent deception and phoniness, like that something is not as it seems, as if something is being staged, but certainly not with this card because it's a connection to spirit. What else? Now this card, being the first stage card, and I'm going to use this in a spiritual capacity, it's the first connection with divine. There has been a moment, and it has been acknowledged and celebrated, even celebrated in the heavens, and that connection has been made. And from that point, from that moment, from that acknowledgement, from that connection, divine in the background then sets about creating your journey, your spiritual journey. From that moment, based on that moment, what can we do? How can we how can we best utilize this moment to get things on track and keep this progression going, and keep our relationship going, the connection from spirit to this 3D reality, unconscious and conscious. Let's keep this happening, and we're going to mark out the best journey, the best moments, the best people, the best guides. We're going to give you the most help that we can. Just keep this connection. Always turn to spirit. Always ask the divine for guidance. And without this card, well, not this card especially, obviously, if you don't even practice tarot, but without that first connection to spirit, without that acknowledgement that, hey, there's something bigger, I'm not running this show. It's best that I don't try and run this show. I better leave it to the people who know best. So the moment that that's acknowledged, and you keep turning to the divine, the universe, to your God, insert deity of choice, until you do that, yeah, if you don't have that first connection, then there won't be a journey, will there? So, especially for spiritual readers, which I do believe they should only be spiritual readers, this card, as with all cards, goodness me, they're all tarot is just so multifaceted, multi-layered, One card can mean one thing on one occasion and certainly represent a billion other things on others. It's just, there are so many facets, and it can be translated in so many ways, from the mundane, and certainly sometimes I've had some really funny things happen with cards where it is like so mundane, and like the picture is telling you the story. It'll be something so silly, but other times it can obviously mean much deeper spiritual stuff. But the one that comes to mind actually is the Hierophant and the Chariot together. Somebody said it's called the Pope Mobile. Now that is a literal translation, and that is way left field here, but it just cracks me up every time I think about it. The Pope Mobile. Okay, so that's a literal translation. Then we've got the Pope, we've got a chariot, we've got the Pope Mobile. So it's just so many layers to tarot. Now this card also, I just want to point out, after that initial spark, that initial connection with spirit, then we have the journey, obviously. And after that, as a spiritual reader, when this card comes up, it usually means more of an acknowledgement of a reconnection to spirit, or even, especially if you've been through some tough times, things like that. It's a reconnection card and a reassurance to let you know that spirit's got your back, you know. And it's really important actually for really important for the highly in tuned, the spirit with spirit realm. This card can often represent gifting from the divine, celebration of the gift, and you've really got, I mean, obviously other cards will show you the interplay is very important, but yeah, watch out for those gifts. There could be opportunities. You could be being gifted with a new spiritual gift. Yeah, I've had that happen. So this is a card saying, hey, spirit's trying to get in touch, or it has got in touch even and you didn't notice. Wake up, have a look. So it's an important card for spiritual readers when you see it pop up again and again further down your journey, that it's a reassurance that you're on the right path, or a smack in the head to say get on the right path. Yeah. Now it's from the planetary perspective, it's Venus in Aries, this card, which is celebrating, I mean, it's a perfect union. It is very nearly perfection. Like it's actually called completion in the Thoth deck. Venus in Aries shows beauty and strength, basically. Aries is well, it's the Emperor, and this is the Four of Wands, so the four hails back to the Emperor from the Major Arcana. And it, I mean, the father is the ultimate father figure. In his harshest light, yes, he can be unwielding and harsh and methodical and unbending, and think of things like can represent government, laws, authority, things like that. It can be, as I said, in its harshest light, but the Venus element in Aries brings out the beauty of that and softens it. And as I said, it's a very near perfect union. So there are, I don't know what I'm saying now. This card to me, my connection with this card. One second. Okay, sorry about that. My connection with this card, Four of Wands, is gratitude. Whenever I see this card, always gratitude, because as I said, it could be it could be a gift, it could be a spiritual gift. It's a definite connection. There will be a definite message. It's a connection to the divine, and it's a reassurance that you're on the right path, that divine is trying to speak to you, trying to speak to you, or has spoken to you, or is gifting something to you. It's a beautiful card, and I love to see it, especially if you've been through an isolating or rough period. There's the soul testing sort of stuff, you know. When it's been rough, it's really nice to see this card, and it's just a reminder, you know, you're not in it alone, you know, Spirit's got your back, thank goodness. And it's very easy to get carried away and feel alone, feel disconnected. Especially, it's very easy to feel disconnected. And this card, the celebration can be that with the 11-11 element, I haven't gone through that, but anyway, this card is often, as I said, it's called the marriage card. Traditional interpretations could be marriage. 11-11, it's to do with sorry, I always got to do this, awakening. I'm starting to dislike a lot of this common terminology, because they actually take beautiful things and really commonize them. You know, being an awakening is a spectacular and beautiful thing. It's scary sometimes, but it's just become so part of the modern lingo that I'm almost afraid to say it now. But sorry, it's alright. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so with the 11-11 and the awakening element, I mean, 11-11 is the digital coding. Start again. It is the awakening code. There's just no way around that. It's a doorway. It's opening doorways. 11 is a gateway number. It's a master number. So we've got 11, 22, 33. These are master numbers. And 11 is the very first. And it is a doorway to other realms, to spiritual realms, whatever realms. I mean, there's plenty of realms. So when you see this card also, it could be opportunities, definitely doorways. Spiritual realm might be trying to contact you. There are so many layers to this card, truly. Other cards around it will show you or indicate, you know, what areas that Spirit's trying to get your attention. So it's a very important card. So I thought I'd kick everything off, just my tarot musings, my interpretations and my connection with tarot as a spiritual tool to help you on the right path, to keep your connection with divine. For me personally, especially if you've been through some trying stuff with this card, I'll wave it around again. Four of Wands. If you have been through a difficult or trying or testing, it's a level up card. It's a, it could be doorways, yeah, leveling up, new opportunities. You've gotten through that, you're stronger. Only if you've gotten stronger. Only if you have passed the test, I guess, and grown from it. Yeah, so if you've lost my train of thought, it's getting really busy here. Testing, yeah, so if you're leveling up with this card, it means that you have turned to the universe, to the divine, for guidance, for strength, for as your source, as your energy source. Because in moments of where we are tested, and there are moments all the time, goodness, every moment you have decisions, you know, this way, that way. Decisions, and what do you base those decisions on? This card can indicate that you have stayed true. You have not. Okay, I have to take a few steps back. The cards that lead up to this card are, well, obviously we've got the Ace, Ace of Wands, then we've got the 2, then we've got the 3. Now, these are all Aries cards. These are, and Wands is extremely powerful. This is, it is spirit, it is fire, it is what lights your fire, it is passion. A lot of people think cups, I think, is more spiritual. No, it's Wands. Can be used for good or evil. Fire, goodness, can't it? It's either cleansing, wonderful, warming, or it can be very destructive. So with the 2 of Wands is decision. Oh, look at this one. Okay, sorry about that. I'm going to just stitch all these together. It's 10 minutes. I think I was talking about the planetary. As organised as usual. Venus in Aries. So if we think of Aries, Mars, ruled by Mars. Aries is an extremely good character when properly, if on the right path. Good, but it's harsh. Aries, unyielding, completely unyielding, it's stubborn, and they might be coming from a good place, but they are firm. As I said, we get associations can be the father figure, obviously, government, people of authority, which, as we know, can just be completely black and white, completely black and white. Now, with the Venus element, it it softens it. It brings out the beauty of it. It gives the meaning behind the rules, let's say. It's the strict but loving father figure. Softens those harsh edges, and firm but tough. Firm but loving. Yeah, I think the father figure is probably the best way to describe it. It's that strictness for your own good, and it comes from a loving space. it brings out, I mean, I think Aries is good anyway, but it brings out more showing of it. It doesn't just say, here's the rules, follow them, or else. It's saying, follow them because we want what's best for you. It's because we love you. So, yeah, it is a beautiful card, and that's why Crowley has called it completion. It's completion because it is the connection of unconscious and conscious. It is this reality. It's having those spiritual moments. It's those moments where you are profoundly aware that there's more. There's more. This can't be it. There's something else. There's something else. Those moments that make you realize that make you feel so insignificant sometimes that that there's no way you could possibly be in charge of this because it's too big. Now, when this card comes along as a gift or a level up card, I'm letting you know that it's you've been through a tough time, and it's acknowledging the tough time, and it's saying, hey, let's celebrate. Trying times are trying times, obviously, but I think the greatest temptation is that temptation. How is that right? When we turn to in tough times, when we turn our back on spirit, when we turn our back on the divine, and we run the show, and we go for those instant feel good, the quick fixes, I feel like crap. Let's have these instant, these little wins, let's say. The more we turn that way, and the more we turn our back on spirit, we lose our connection to spirit. And these tiny little wins, these petty wins, let's say, these moments where we say, no, I'm in charge of this, I'm in control, and I'm going to have my little wins, and the instant feel good, these are the ego builders. And the more that we consistently have these tiny little wins, these little rushes, they're feel good rushes, power rushes actually, especially with the wands, power rushes, and they're short-lived. They don't last long, so we need more. We need more of them. And each time that you turn away from the divine and instead choose to have these little feel-goods, these rushes, these are the ego builders. These are false power, let's say. Petty. They're so petty. And the more that you do that, as I said, the more that you turn away from spirit and you have these little ego builders, they will keep building. And they do not build a pretty picture. Any foundation that is built in ego, it has to come down eventually. And as I said, they're not pretty. And the more that we turn to them, and the bigger foundation we build in this ego sense of win at all costs, the harder it is actually to bring them down. That the foundation becomes quite heavy and unstable, very unstable. And the heavier that mask, I guess, comes, that ego masks, our false self, our false mask of security built in ego, not from the divine, not from a pure source-based goodness, the connection. It's harder to get back to source. It's harder to hold up that mask too. That's what I mean about the instability. The more you turn your back on divine, the heavier this mask becomes, more labor intensive, and it's not the right direction. And we all do. I mean, nobody's perfect, for goodness sake. And it's, well, for me personally, it's usually through the spectacular mistakes that I make that I do learn to do it differently. Maybe not the correct way next time, but at least I'm trying something different, because that way didn't work. These instant feel-goods don't sustain you. They're very short-lived. So when we have been through trying times, when our frequency, our vibration, and that's what I mean by leveling up, you're lifting to a new vibration. You have turned to the divine, and you have spoken about, in your choices, you have let the divine know, I don't like this frequency. And you're turning your back on that frequency and to the divine, you will be gifted a new level up, a higher vibration. Now the testing stuff can be the lower vibrations, the lower vibration. Oh, look at this guy, hang on. I love it when I see the turkeys and the wild turkeys, I guess. When I first came to Queensland and I first saw a turkey running around, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, what the hell? What's going on? What is this crazy place? I think they're commonly called bush chooks and, well, lots of things. But anyway, I love seeing them. Still, I don't know. I think they're special. I love seeing them. Anyway, enough. So, what was I saying? So again, when you've been through some trying times and you are being tested by lower vibrations, if you've been surrounded by a lot of testing, trying behaviors, because different frequencies, different vibration levels, they can't speak to one another. They're just higher vibrations. In fact, it's really nice. The higher vibration you are, you'll actually not even be able to notice the really low vibrations, which is nice. I've often been in situations where afterwards, you know, somebody might say, did you notice that at all? Did you see this, or did you what? No. I'm just completely oblivious. I don't even see some of these things. And that's where you want to be, where you are in such a high vibration that you don't even notice these horrible things that might be around, and you just walk on past, don't give it any, well, you don't even notice it. So oblivious, like the fool. Ignorance is bliss. So but anyway, when you're around constantly around this lower vibration, lower vibrations in general, it's the law of nature. It's the law of gravity even. They will try and drag you down to their frequency. Now the trick is, when you're in higher frequency, do you try and bring them up to your frequency? They just don't cooperate, the two frequencies. Rarely. I mean, the best you can hope for is that the two frequencies meet in the middle. The two vibrations might come to an understanding vibration middle way, but then you lose. Like any which way, fraternizing, involving yourself, getting involved in the lower frequency, you will lose any which way. Because as I said, the best result is that you might be able to lift the lower frequencies up, but at own personal cost. You go down, your vibration goes down. So when you have been through these particularly trying times, and you have always, can't always, but you've done your best to turn to spirit every time, not engaged with the lower vibration, not gone for the instant feel goods, which really sucks in long hauls. When you turn to spirit as your guide, as your source of energy every time, you will eventually come to a level up. And this card will come across for a spiritual reader. You'll see this card and just feel overwhelming gratitude, because it's just an absolutely wonderful acknowledgement that Divine's got your back. You're leveling up, doors are opening. That comes down to the 11 again. There's going to be new opportunities, and it's being acknowledged in the heavens that you have you've passed through that particular test, whatever it is, and you'll know we've all got our own journeys. But just overwhelming gratitude, especially when the times have been tough. When I see this card, grateful in any capacity, whether they're gifting me something or not, whether it's a door opening, whether it's just a howdy doody. We know that things have been tough. Always gratitude when I see this card. Number 4 is the power of this card. As I said, it hails back to the Emperor in the Major Arcana, which is stability. It's foundation. It is so it is, in a way, as Crowley Thoth says, completion, because 4 is it is the universe, really. It's when you think about 4 and how they make a whole in so many ways. You know, there's north, south, east, west. There's mine's gone blank as per usual. I can't think of any. But it's stability. The number 4 is a solid foundation. It's 3. The number 3 is a beautiful there's a celebration in the number 3 because it's a birthing. It is creating. Number 3. So from the 2, then we go to the 3. The 2 create another one. So then that becomes the 3. So we're talking mind, body, spirit, creation, birth, all of those things. So that it's a very busy number 3. It's an active number. Number 4 stabilizes the 3, and then that's where we have the foundation, the stability, and it's a concrete number. It's you can bank on it. And with the wands being such a unstable, I guess, element, I mean, yeah, it's very unstable. Think of fire. So you can think of passionate love, or you can think of fiery freaking temper. It is a very unstable element, and that's why it's actually very difficult to harness properly from the spirit. As I said, I think I might have been. I'm gonna have to stitch these together. I can't remember if I said this or not, but fire can be so cleansing. It can be warming, it can light your fire, it can light your spirit, it can make, passion, but it can also be highly destructive. Fire, goodness. Out of control, completely out of control, no control. It is extremely destructive. So it's a very difficult element to harness, and so wading your way through the wands is difficult. So the 4, foundation in this fire, stability in this fire, that's marvelous. As I said, it's almost perfection. Well, it is what Crowley calls it completion. But I think it's a mistake ever on the spiritual path to ever think that way of perfection or completion, because it's always completion of one level, completion here. There's always something next. Think of infinity. It never stops. We are always growing, we are always evolving. We should be. There are plenty of cards within the tarot that will show stagnancy. Other cards will give you a boot up the arse. get your head out of your ass when used as tools. So I think I'll leave it there. It's a beautiful card, and I just thought that with all my there'll be I've given up on writing. It's just too hard because not given up, but yeah, I shouldn't say give up, but it's just very hard, I think, in that I'm busy. I don't like saying I'm busy because it's become the new cool, hasn't it? How busy you are. Your level of success is based on your amount of busyness. Anyway, no, I just don't have the time, and I love the English language with a passion, and I just become too perfectionist about it. It's ridiculous. So so something that really shouldn't take that long, I agonize over and just take too long. And so this is definitely better for just musings and for my own video diary. Yeah. I just wanted to kick it off with this card because this represents and shows my relationship to tarot, my experience and my ongoing use, or what's the practice of tarot, to show that this for me is not about fortune telling or any quick. I don't have any cheats. I'm not, I don't know what's going to happen. Goodness, I'm as surprised as everybody else. People shock the hell out of me. But my practicing tarot is about spiritual growth, and this card represents that, I think, the best. From here on, though, I'll be doing random. It'll be based on energies of the day. I'll pull a card, so it will all be random from here, but I wanted to start with this card just to represent the journey. Yeah, and that'll be more random from here on, especially, you'll know, actually, there's plenty of cards that I don't particularly want to talk about, because there's no good or bad cards in tarot. There isn't. I mean that. There's other cards. It comes to the interplay often. It's like anything, glass half empty or half full. It depends how you look at things. But there are a lot of cards for me that my stomach just lurches when it comes into it. Oh goodness. And that has to do with my personal relationship with that card. Yeah, and you'll know because I won't have much to say, or what I have to say might not be great, but that's about my personal relationship with that card. Okay, so that's the Four of Wands. I guess that's it. There's nothing else. No more turkeys, no more tortoises. That was pretty cool. Alright, have a great day. I'll see you next time.